The BART Office of the Inspector General proudly presents its report. Workplan selection process gives appearance that favored firms could receive an unfair advantage. Here's Jeff to tell us about the investigation.
Thank you, Harriet. We received 11 allegations against a firm contracting with BART to provide a variety of services. The 11 allegations dealt primarily with non-compliance with conflicts of interest policies and contract requirements. We found one of the allegations to be substantiated, one to be partially substantiated, one to be inconclusive, and the remaining 8 were unsubstantiated. To avoid the inappropriate public disclosure of this organization, we are not naming it in this presentation and refer to it as only the firm. The first allegation claimed that the firm's overhead rates were significantly high as compared to other firms. We found the allegation to be partially substantiated in the sense that the firm's rates are higher than most other firms, but not the highest. The firm had the second highest overhead rates in comparison to the other firms awarded a construction management contract under the same competitive procurement process. However, we found no applicable federal or state law or regulation restricting rate limits for the contract in question. Further, BART's Performance and Audit Department determined that the firm's rates were reasonable and based on allowable costs, and an independent auditor, external to both BART and the firm, opined that the values used to support the firm's rates were fairly stated. For these reasons, we do not consider the allegation fully substantiated. The second allegation claimed that the firm received more work under its on-call construction management contracts as compared to other firms also awarded on-call contracts. We determined the allegation to be inconclusive. We analyzed work plans and found that the firm was first among other firms in being awarded work plans 1 time, and second 2 times. Alone, this doesn't prove the allegation. Further, we were not provided documentation to support the rationale for selecting the firm to receive work. And BART doesn't have written guidance for how work is to be awarded. Therefore, the combined evidence did not confirm the allegation. BART's contracts do say that it will consider rational distribution when awarding work under its on-call contracts, but there is no policy to do so. Instead, it's up to the project team to decide which firm should be awarded work. But without documentation to support the selection, it's unclear as to why the firm received more work than most of the other firms awarded an on-call contract, under the same award series. BART's selection process limits transparency, and creates the risk that certain firms may receive favoritism. It also removes BART's ability to defend itself for its selection choice, and allows for the perception that a firm's connections with BART leadership gets them more work, which was the perception presented to us by some employees during our investigation. It's difficult to defend against that perception without documentation and guidance regarding selections. Because of this, we reached out to other government jurisdictions to identify how they protect themselves against such perceptions, and to identify a process that provides a more even playing field for all the firms with on-call contracts. We identified 2 potential alternatives. One that awards work on a rotational basis. And one that requires all firms with an on-call contract to submit a work plan proposal for selection. The officials we spoke with acknowledged that there is no perfect solution. But implementing such processes create a more systematic approach for awarding work plans. Regardless of which option is used, any process could be made more transparent through better documentation for the selection choice, backed by written guidance on the process. Also, as shown in our prior allegation discussion, overhead rates can vary significantly among firms. Therefore, overhead rates should be part of the decision process. For those reasons, we recommended that management implement written work plan selection guidelines that create more transparency, that support accountability in how firms are chosen to perform work, and that ensure overhead rates are part of the selection consideration. Management agreed to our recommendation, saying they will review and document their work plan selection process, assess whether it allows for favoritism, and, if so, identify where improvements to transparency can be made. They also said they will determine if other methods, including those we identified, are advantageous and appropriate for BART. Management said they also plan to post a chart to the BART website summarizing the remaining capacity available on all on-call contracts on a quarterly basis. We will follow up on management's progress with implementation to ensure their end product meets the intent of our recommendation. The third, fourth, and fifth allegations all dealt with conflicts of interest. Only one of which was substantiated. We substantiated the third allegation. A BART manager named in this allegation did work for the firm before gaining employment with BART, which we confirmed through the manager's BART employment application. But the firm didn't disclose this relationship as required. As for the fourth allegation, we determined that to be unsubstantiated. A BART manager named in the allegation, who is different than the previously mentioned manager, Didn't have a family relationship with any persons working for the firm. To make our determination, we conducted genealogical research, which revealed no such relations, and interviewed the BART manager who denied any family relationship. We also unsubstantiated the fifth allegation, which said that one of the firm's contracts required it to teach small businesses how to file claims against BART. However, the contract's actual purpose was to assist small businesses in navigating BART's complex contracting requirements and being able to compete with larger firms. This included information on what infringements would provide them the right to file a claim and the appropriate process for doing so. The purpose was to reduce the number of filed claims that lack merit and to reduce the administrative work associated with those claims. Even though a conflict did exist with the third allegation, no remedial action is required because the BART manager is no longer employed with BART. And we made several recommendations to improve the understanding of conflicts of interest in our April 8 investigation report. Now let's take a look at the next 8 allegations. Because they were each unsubstantiated, I'm going to focus on the highlights. The sixth allegation alleged that the firm hired a personal friend of a BART manager to gain favor with the district. The BART manager in this instance is not the same manager identified in either of the prior allegations. We determined this allegation to be unsubstantiated. The person hired was not a friend, and the manager recommended that the firm hire someone who had done work for BART before, to address a district need. The seventh and eighth allegations dealt with the firm's ability to provide its contracted services. We determined both allegations to be unsubstantiated. Using financial ratios, we found the firm to be financially stable. And after conducting a staffing analysis, we determined that the firm employed a sufficient number of qualified employees to provide the services stated in the contract scope of work. The ninth and 10th allegations claimed that the firm used unqualified personnel to perform work under its contract. We determined both allegations to be unsubstantiated. The staff who were identified to us in the allegation and who worked on the contract met the contract requirements. The 11th allegation claimed that the firm misrepresented its use of a disadvantaged business enterprise, or DBE, by using it as a pass-through. We determined the allegation to be unsubstantiated. The firm did not fake having the DBE do work that it did itself. That completes a look at the 11 investigations we completed. To recap, most of the allegations were unsubstantiated, and the primary finding was that BART needs to improve its work plan selection process. Doing so will make it more transparent.
Well, thanks for listening in. We've had a long day at the office and are heading home, using BART, of course. Take care.